For some reason, I'm sweating. Good evening, brethren. I'm going to be speaking just for a few minutes this evening on the topic of obedience. We know that since God created the heavens and the earth and put Adam and Eve in the garden, that it was his desire and expectation for his people to obey him. But then again, he made us free will beings where we have the ability to decide for ourselves independently whether we are willing to obey him or not. And sometimes things come up in our lives, that pressures from family, from friends, from work, that make it even harder for us to obey him. I want to bring up a group of people this evening, the Amalekites, and how God had aught against this people because they had laid in wait and pursued after the Israelites as they were coming out of Egypt. And I want to show you how God decided to deal with these people, and also how Israel decided that they wanted a king to reign over them, like all the nations around about them. And lastly, because they wanted a king, that God allowed Samuel to anoint Saul as the first king. We want to see a mission that God sends Saul on with clear-cut commands of what he wanted Saul to do, and we're going to see how Saul did. I'm going to be reading from the New King James Version of the Bible, and we're going to begin in the book of Exodus, chapter 17. Beginning verse 8. Now Amalek came and fought with Israel in Rephidim, and Moses said to Joshua, "Choose us some men and go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the hill with the rod of God in my hand." So Joshua did as Moses said to him and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up on top of the hill. And so it was when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands became heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. So Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this for a memorial in the book and recount it in the hearing of Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven." And Moses built an altar and called its name, "The Lord is my banner." For he said, "Because the Lord has sworn, the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation." Another account in Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 17 beginning. "Remember what Amalek did to you on the way as you were coming out of Egypt, how he met you on the way and attacked your rear ranks, all the stragglers that were at your rear, how they were tired and weary, and he did not fear God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord your God has given you rest from your enemies all around, in the land which the Lord your God has given you to possess as an inheritance, that you will blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. You shall not forget." And we're saying that the children of Israel decided that they wanted a king to reign over them. In 1 Samuel chapter 8, we have this account. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 1. "Now it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel." Verse 3. But his sons did not walk in his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain, took bribes, and perverted justice. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah and said to him, "Look, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations." But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, "Give us a king to judge us." So Samuel prayed to the Lord, and the Lord said to Samuel, "Heed the voice of the people and all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them." And of course, we know that God allowed Samuel to anoint Saul as the first king of Israel. About 15, 18 years into his reign, we have this account in 1 Samuel chapter 15. 1 Samuel 15, verse 1. Samuel also said to Saul, "The Lord sent me to anoint you king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore heed the voice of the words of the Lord. Thus says the Lord of hosts, I will punish Amalek for what he did to Israel, how he ambushed him on the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and attack Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, ox and sheep, camel and donkey." In verse 5 we see, "And Saul came to a city of Amalek and lay in wait in the valley." So he was giving very clear instructions to utterly destroy the people of Amalek. And we're going to see what he does here in verse number 7. "And Saul attacked the Amalekites from Halavah all the way to Shur, which is east of Egypt. He also took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the fatlings, the lambs, and all that was good, and were unwilling to utterly destroy them. But everything despised and worthless, that they utterly destroyed. Now the word of the Lord came to Samuel, saying, I greatly regret that I have set up Saul as king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried out to the Lord all night." So the account that we have here is the Lord is unhappy, of course, because Saul has not done his commandments. But we're going to see here that Saul has a different view of what happened. When Samuel goes to Saul in verse 13, "Then Samuel went to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed are you of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord." Drastic difference, isn't it, from what God said and what Saul said. In verse 14, "But Samuel said, What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? And Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites. For the people spared the best of the sheep and the oxen to sacrifice to the Lord your God, and the rest we have utterly destroyed." Then Samuel said to Saul, "Be quiet, and I will tell you what the Lord said to me last night." And he said, "Speak on." So Samuel said, "When you were little in your own eyes, were you not head of the tribes of Israel? And did not the Lord anoint you king over Israel? Now the Lord sent you on a mission and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why did you swoop down on the spoil and do evil in the sight of the Lord?" And Saul said to Samuel, "But I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and gone on the mission on which the Lord sent me, and brought back Agag, king of the Amalek. I have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took the plunder, sheep and oxen, the best of the things that should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice to the Lord your God in Gilgal." So Samuel said, "Has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you from being king. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. We, each individual, have the ability and going to be judged on if we have the desire, if we do obey his will or not. Yes, we can obey his will. Will we or will we not?